Today we're going to demo the Chargeback Processing module within Dynamics GP. Typically, when a business is processing cash receipts, they will have various adjustments that they will need to take into account. Utilizing the Blue Moon Chargeback Processing module, Blue Moon actually adds a place to put in the various adjustments via the window that's on the screen. A given organization will then put into their adjustments, such as this example, where we'll have advertising or damaged goods. Under each of those settings, they'll indicate what chargeback account that they want to have processed against, what GL clearing accounts, and then whether to automatically allow or disallow by adjustment type. Also, the system is capable of indicating by customer whether to override that default, whereby typically we may allow an adjustment, but maybe for target we do not. And we can save those entries into the system. Once I have those adjustments, I can then use those when I go to do my cash receipts processing. What we're going to go ahead and demonstrate is an example without chargeback processing. In this example, the situation is a customer has sent over a payment of $2,000. However, that payment of $2,000 is actually made up of $1,500 in cash and $500 in adjustments. Typically, what I would need to do is I would first need to go in and in my cash receipts apply the cash that I received. So in that example, I would select my customer, I would put in the amount of cash that I've received, I would put in any check or cash details, I would select the batch information that I need to process against, and then at that point I would go ahead and apply the overall payment. At this point, unfortunately though, I'm not able to recognize all $2,000. I only have the cash in hand. I now have a piece of paper generally sitting in front of me, or multiple invoices via a stack of paper that I now need to search against to find, okay, where is invoice 123 that I need to apply $1,000? There's not really a search within this window, so I'm going to scroll down through those various entries. In the context of EDI, I may literally have hundreds or thousands of invoices that may be open in the system. I'll go ahead and indicate which of the invoices that I want to apply against. I'll go ahead and put in the appropriate amount of that invoice that I needed to process. And I would go through that process one by one. Once I'm done with that, I would then go ahead and post that invoice, post those payments against those invoices. As you may remember, we still have various adjustments that we need to process. In order to do that, I would then go into transaction sales and typically into transaction entry. I would then go through the receiving transaction entry and enter a credit or debit memo. In this case, we want to put a credit towards the customer as to what it is for. In this case, it was for an advertising adjustment. As I go through that process, I'll manually go ahead and select the details. I'll go ahead and put what the total adjustment amount was. In this case, it was $500. Unfortunately, I really don't have a good place to put what transactions that's against. So a lot of times what may happen is I may then go into the notes and put in a transaction note that is specific. This was for an invoice, 123, $500 adjustment. And I'll go ahead and attach that. So once I do that, I will then go ahead and apply each individual adjustment manually. If I'm disputing this adjustment, such as a damaged goods or a shipping, I would typically also then need to create a debit memo, thereby making their balance show that they still owe us money. So I'm going to apply the credit, but I also then need to manually create the debit memo. With chargeback processing, what I've just showed you is greatly reduced and simplified. What will happen now is when a cash receipt comes in, what will happen is we'll simply go through and indicate the details. But now I actually will have a place to put the adjustment information. Once I've keyed in the cash amount, in this case we've got our $1,500, what we're going to do is we're going to utilize the adjustment window that Chargeback Processing has added. In this window, I'm now able to put in one centralized place all of the various adjustments. Using the adjustment window that you saw earlier, we can then just simply select the adjustment that we need to enter. The system has already defaulted the GL account to hit, thereby eliminating a lot of the manual entry mistakes that can be prevalent. As the system will automatically then default whether to allow or disallow that charge, that can be overridden by the operator as need be. You can now put in contact information, and integration with the collection modules makes it easier to dispute the various charges. Now I have $500 in cash, as well as my $1,500 in, I had the $500 in adjustments, the $1,500 in cash, and when I go to apply, we actually have the full amounts, and I can then go through and indicate where those details are for. So this has greatly reduced the process, because now I no longer need to remember GL accounts, I no longer need to create manual debit credit memos, and when I go to apply, I have the full amount, both the cash and the adjustments that I need to process. That being said, what happens with EDI a lot of times is that information may be for hundreds or again thousands of invoices. So what EDI is going to add on top of Chargeback Processing via what is called Remittance Automation is the ability to cross-reference our customers' codes to our codes. And so in doing that, what we're able to do is go through and put the information for that particular customer into the system. So what we're going to do is open up Remittance Automation, and in the Remittance Automation window, we're actually going to have several areas that has now been extended to EDI. One of those is the ability to set up which of my customers is capable of automatically processing a payment remittance document, or an EDI 820. Once we've set up that customer and some of the rules for the customer, I can then go through and indicate the various adjustments that may occur. What you'll find is sometimes, for instance, Walmart or Target or JCPenney, these large national accounts, the codes that they use for their processing may be different than the codes that you've set up within Chargeback Processing. So this window that's added by EDI gives us an area to go ahead and create the connection. What I might have called ADV for advertising adjustment, maybe my business partner simply abbreviated AV. We can then create these links. Armed with the ability to read my customer's data and how that applies to my system, we can now simply go through and import our cash receipts. We might have had multiple customers processed and multiple adjustments, and those would all show up in the screen. I can simply go through and say I want to process all of those, or I can go through and individually select the transactions that I want, and I can simply then go ahead and hit the process button. We also have full visibility to the audit and error processing of those transactions. We also can actually open up and view the transactions to see the specific breakdown of what customer, what payment, what adjustments that basically are being processed. And so again, giving us better visibility to what our customer has actually sent. But once I actually process the transaction, what that has done for us is it's automated the apply component, the creation of the actual adjustment, all of the work that I would have had to do in the Chargeback Processing manually. The only thing that is left is when I simply go into the cash receipts, I would need to physically apply that to be posted. And so I would look up the entry. I have the ability to go through and view the adjustments as needed. I could view the apply as needed. But typically, again, we'll go ahead and post that transaction. Of note, as you may recall, the Chargeback Processing module does give us a modified posting journal. And in that modified posting journal, we have visibility to what adjustments were processed, what the amounts of those adjustments were, whether I allowed them or disallowed them, the total adjustments, the total summarized values of which ones were allowed and not allowed, as well as the overall GL breakdown. This modified report simplifies the overall processing, making the cash receipt process that may have used to take hours or days now down to simply hours.